Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur TV show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time I go live. Okay, so listen, this is an update, right? This is an update for the story that I did this morning for your morning wake-up call about the teenagers who dragged this elderly woman, 73 years old, to her death as they carjacked her. It was all so heinous. So now the suspects have been arrested. 14 suspects have been arrested in connection with the carjacking of a New Orleans woman who was dragged for an extended period of time before she eventually died from her injuries. And remember, it was so heinous that she was caught in her seatbelt. And the only way she became dislodged from the car is when one of her arms was severed, freeing her. And she died before the paramedics got there. So the 73-year-old victim, Linda Fricky, was leaving her job at Security Plan Insurance when the incident unfolded on Monday around 1:30 p.m. in the Mid-City area. So this was in broad daylight. Now, according to the press release from the New Orleans Police Department, she was approached by a group of teens who overpowered her in a bid to steal her 2021 gray Nissan Kicks. Fricky was still entangled in the driver's side seatbelt for more than a block before her arm was severed and she was finally free from the car. Police found Fricky unresponsive in the street and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, several people on the scene said they tried their best to stop the car but to no avail. One person says, "I got out of my vehicle screaming, 'Stop, stop, you're dragging someone.' He took off with the vehicle, still dragging her, just reckless." Mid-City resident and witness Tom Ecker said this to the news station. He said, "No care for human beings at all." Now, the New Orleans Police Department on Tuesday announced the arrest of 4 suspects in connection with the deadly incident. They included a 17-year-old male, a 16-year-old female, and 2 15-year-old females as well. Now, each remained behind bars on Wednesday at the Juvenile Justice Intervention Center on account of second-degree murder. The mother of one of the 15-year-old girls turned her into authorities on Monday. Now, another 2 suspects were arrested later the same evening after investigators similarly received information from one of their parents. Authorities said the remaining female suspects surrendered to authorities early on Tuesday morning. They say this was an incredibly difficult decision on behalf of these parents, and I want to commend them for doing the right thing. That's what the police superintendent, Sean Ferguson, said at a press conference. "It's very painful to turn in your child for something you know they were not raised to be." Well, honey, that's true. And the sad thing is you can do your best to raise these children, but some of them turn out to be thugs anyway. And, honey, parents can't blame themselves. Now, some parents actually should blame themselves. Honey, if you're a parent who's absent, a parent who's out there partying, running the streets and doing all of this, that, and third, and then leaving your kids out there to fend for themselves, well, likely it is your fault. But if you're a good parent who's worked hard and taught your children values and they still turn out to be this way, which is clearly nefarious, honey, that is not your fault. So whatever you do, don't blame yourself. All right. So with that all being said, I'm going to share my screen to show this news report. Everyone, please like and share. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you in advance.
I just want to know how we can mobilize and as a community.
Neighbors are incensed after a brutal carjacking death in Mid-City. A woman is dead tonight after the NOPD says she was dragged for nearly a whole block in a horrific carjacking this afternoon.
And police just released this video of 4 suspects wanted in connection with the fatal carjacking. Police ask anyone with information or anyone who can identify these people who are responsible to call Crime Stoppers. They say it all started in the 300 block of North Scott Street, where the woman was dragged around the block and finally released from the car in the 300 block of North Pierce Street. About 4.5 hours later, the NOPD says the gray Nissan Kicks was found near the intersection of North Dumaine and North Dupree.
After watching the gruesome attack and trying to render aid, neighbors say it's an incident that will stay with them for a long time. Amanda Roberts reports.
It was shaping up to be a beautiful afternoon in Mid-City. The Maskar household was even preparing to celebrate a birthday. I was yoga, power walking on the Lafitte Greenway. That all came to a screeching halt around 1:30 in the afternoon near the intersection of North Scott and Bienville Street when neighbor Todd Ecker saw a gray car pull into the intersection.
And he was dragging a lady by the seatbelt from outside the car. The door had closed on the seatbelt and she was stuck in it. I got out of my vehicle screaming for them, please stop, you're dragging a lady. Other neighbors were also screaming at them.
He drove off in an attempt to stop them, a commotion that Leanne Maskar says she'll never forget. She was screaming, and she was like screaming to please let her go, and then they slowed down, and he tried to open the door so he'd like kick her out. And then they made that corner over by Rouse's. But as soon as I saw her, I just screamed and I just started running for her. I thought that if I could somehow, I don't know what I thought I could do, but I thought I could dislodge her from this car. When I looked down, her body was already there and her arm was, it's just not something that you expect to see. The NOPD say she was dragged nearly an entire block, her arm severed before she was released from the car. Through tears and screams, Leanne ran to get a sheet from her home. She was laying there naked, and I thought that she should not, the indignity that she had just suffered, it was already too much. By this point, anyone within earshot rendered what aid they could, including her husband, Mark Maskar.
Just sit beside a woman who's probably a mother, grandmother, and watch her fade away. I mean, as my wife said, everyone was praying. I wasn't. I was quite angry and telling this woman to hang in there, because every time I heard a siren, I was hoping and praying that was an ambulance. I kept saying to this woman, the ambulance is here, just hang in there, because I could see it breathing. The eyes are moving. And I've never seen anything so horrific.
And if you are so afraid to go from your house to your car, and you can't even sit in your car to make a phone call without some delinquent pulling you out and dragging you down a street, there's something wrong with that. While they recovered the woman's car about a mile away, the NOPD only said 4 people were responsible for the brutal carjacking. Neighbors say they couldn't have been much older than teenagers.
God knows these kids have probably run through this whole judicial system time and time again. Jason Williams, do your job.
They're enraged, they're incensed, changed forever after seeing a life taken for no reason. Watching what I saw today and feeling so helpless in the face of someone else's pain, and so obviously it is horrendous to feel that way, and to just want to help and do something and feel so helpless. It's enraging me right now.
Police have not yet released the names, ages, or identities of either the suspects or the victim. But again, the NOPD released this video of who they believe are the 4 suspects involved in the carjacking. They have not released any names, though, but if you have any information that could help investigators, you're asked to contact.
Died, struck, and dragged as carjackers took off in her car in Mid-City.
Police are now looking for 4 suspects in the crime that happened on Bienville and North Scott this afternoon. Amanda Roberts joining us live with more details. Amanda.
Yes, police are still investigating out here today. They have a lot of evidence to process because this is a very large scene stretching the better part of a block. And this all happened in the middle of the afternoon. 1:35 this afternoon is when the call came in. Police say that they are now looking for a 2018 or 2019 gray Nissan Kick. NOPD Police Chief Sean Ferguson said that a woman was at her car when another vehicle drove up behind. Suspects carjacked her and then dragged her around the block. They say that the suspects dragged her from North Scott to Bienville to North Pierce, where Ferguson said that she was, quote, ejected from the car. We learned that her injuries, a severed arm, is the only reason she wasn't dragged further, but she's since succumbed to her injuries.
We cannot accept this as the norm, not just in the city of New Orleans, but anywhere. We should not accept the death of a 13-year-old as a norm. We should not accept the death of a bartender working at his job as the norm. So you know, whoever you may be, you do know the individual or individuals that was involved in this.
And add the tagline.
Gina and Stella, I'm told that Linda was an amazing woman and that she was just leaving from her job at a nearby insurance company when she was carjacked and ultimately killed. Tonight, I actually spoke with family members who tell me they're just devastated.
It's disgusting. You have a 73-year-old woman just at her job, putting things in the car. They drug her. No forethought. Dismembered her. Well, why? And she was just a good person.
Family members react to the news of one of the latest murders to happen here in the city. 73-year-old Linda Fricky dying after being carjacked in the 300 block of North Scott in Mid-City. NOPD officials say 4 suspects took her vehicle, speeding off while she was still in a seatbelt. Take a look. Police released video of the suspects late Monday night.
She'd help anybody off the street. She would have gave them the car if they'd have just gave her a chance to step away.
She was dragged for more than a block before being dislodged from the car. Her arm severed during the incident. Neighbors helplessly trying to stop the vehicle.
I got out of my vehicle screaming at him, stop, stop, you're dragging someone. He took off with the vehicle, still dragging her with reckless disabandonment. No care for human beings at all.
Family members say Fricky was leaving her job at Security Plan Insurance, where she sold life insurance, when it happened.
She was coming out of her office building, putting something in her car, or getting in her car. She got tangled in the seatbelt because they didn't give her time to get out.
She was the kindest, the best person. It's a hole in all of our lives that will never get back. Mm-hmm. She just will be deeply. That's all I could really say.
Now, instead of welcoming their sister home from a day at work, they're grieving her tragic death.
It's disgusting. When it's going to stop, and that's what they target. Old ladies. That's just cowardly. That's evil. The parents need to be held accountable.
Now, I'm told that Fricky was one of 7 children. She actually had 5 sisters, sons, and at least 3 grandchildren. Such a terrible situation. Now, when it comes to the vehicle, they were actually able to find the vehicle, NOPD, but of course, officials are still looking for the 4 suspects.
Okay, so clearly those reports were prior to them catching the little thugs who did it. 4 of them, right? So one guy, I think he was 16, and then there was 2 15-year-olds and another 16-year-old, and the 15-year-olds were both girls, and then a 16-year-old girl as well, I do believe so. And a couple of the parents turned in their own children, which further leads me to believe that their parents clearly didn't raise them that way. And it's a lot of this stuff going on with these people out here committing these heinous crimes being younger and younger. And, more than likely they're going to be tried as adults. And they should be, because my thing is, At that age, 15 on up, you already know the difference between right and wrong, and you know the consequences, or that there are consequences for your actions. So it's just really sad. And then these type of thugs, they target elderly people. That's what they do. They prey upon the elderly and the disabled. Okay, they look for soft targets. This is what these little devils do. And so it's just really sad and unfortunate. That lady was getting off of work, going home, and that's what happened before she could even make it there. So that's clearly sad, honey. Nobody is safe these days. Everybody needs to be arming themselves to protect yourselves. And if you have elderly family members, then it would be a good idea to try to take them back and forth to work or wherever they may need to go, or make sure that they have something to protect themselves, because this is just all crazy. And this is just all very unfortunate also. Now, there was another. Listen to this. Is this the story I was looking for? Okay, so listen to this. Now, they say Athens City school student was left unattended at a Nashville zoo. So an Athens City school student was on a school trip to the Nashville Zoo on Monday and was left at the zoo for hours after not being able to find the school group. Now, I'm sorry, but who was the chaperone? I'm just curious, because isn't there supposed to be something done called a head count, where you count the students on the bus when you're taking them and you count the students on the bus when you're leaving? How do you leave somebody's child? The child could have been abducted. Anything could have happened. All right. So the Hart Academy at Julia Newman Elementary School, the student reportedly approached reportedly approached a zoo employee, saying that he or she couldn't find the field trip group. According to zoo officials, the staff followed the lost child protocol and kept the child in care of the zoo management until the school group or parent was located. The student and parents were reunited later in the day. This is also crazy, honey. I'm telling you, these people are not paying attention to your children. That's what they're not doing. That should never have happened. Whoever the chaperone was clearly needs to be fired. I'm sorry, they do. Because like I said, common sense should have told them, had they any, that you absolutely have to do a head count to make sure everybody is in the right place, so you don't leave anyone behind. And so hold on, I have one more story, and before I conclude this, everyone, please get the likes up. Please like and share, subscribe to the channel. I'm looking for the story where these silly parents, somehow they allowed their baby to get drugged. And it was also crazy. Allowed the baby to get drugged. Okay, I don't see it. Maybe I'll send it to another email. Anyway, so let's talk about this. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. So let's say Ohio University is supposedly investigating 2 racially motivated incidents on their campus. Now, they say one black student woke up to a white student. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this time. This is also crazy. One black student woke up to a white student urinating outside his door. I mean, mind you, these children that do these things, these young people, are the ones whose parents out there whining and crying and moaning and griping about CRT, right? So they say 2 black students at Ohio University have reported racist incidents that occurred at their dorms. They say one student reported a trash bag with a note containing a racial slur, and another reported a white student urinating at his doorway. The University Office of Equity and Civil Rights Compliance is expected to review the incidents. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. So freshman Naomi Hamner took to Twitter to share what happened at her dorm, saying that a trash bag with a note that read, "Trash jigger biatch." That's what the note said. Trash ninja biatch, okay? It was left 2 doors down from her room in Sargent Hall, they say. Now, she says, it was kind of a scary moment, I can't lie, because I have never dealt with anything like this before. And quite honestly, I never thought I would have to deal with something like this. Honey, I keep telling y'all, when black people say these things, that they didn't have a clue, they didn't know or can't believe this would happen to them. I don't know why they think that when we see and hear stories about these very same type of incidents happening on a regular basis. I don't know how they don't know or think that it won't happen to them. And for the young people who say these things, I don't know why their parents haven't spoken to them about racism, a whole system of wanton supremacy, right, and wannabe supremacists, and why they don't explain to them these things could absolutely happen to them and anyone else who looks like them. And so after finding out it was meant for me, it kind of made my heart drop, because I'm like, wow, people really think of me like this? Yes, honey, they absolutely do. So following this incident, resident advisor Christopher Brown tweeted a picture of a pile of urinated soaked paper towels at his front door in James Hall. Now, he said he was awakened at 2:30 a.m. to a white student urinating outside his door. He also noted he is the only black student, the black resident advisor on the floor. He says going to a PWI has been nothing short of a mental battle. I'm in classes every day with people who look nothing like me, and now I have to deal with a hate crime where I lay my head at night. That's what he said in the tweet. Now, the person who urinated on Brown's door was identified as Brady Linkle, who was charged with criminal mischief by the Ohio University's police department. Honey, he should have been charged with a hate crime, if you ask me. Clearly, that's why he did it, all because of racism and hate. Now, Linkle, who is a member of the university's baseball team, I hope they kick him off the team, and if he has a scholarship, please take it. But, of course, they won't. So they said he's on the university's baseball team. He's scheduled to appear in Athens County Municipal Court on March the 31st. I'm going to tell you what he's going to say, and I'm going to tell you what they're going to say. Pay attention, because I'm going to follow this story. They're going to likely say, more likely than not, they're going to say that this was all a prank. It was a mere joke. He wasn't serious. He was playing a game. And because he didn't use any racist slurs as he urinated outside of this black young man's door, they're going to say that he didn't, it wasn't racially motivated. It was just a joke. Watch what I tell you. You know how they do. You know how they do, honey, because they're on code. Now, the Ohio University Office of Equity and Civil Rights Compliance is reviewing each incident, according to the university's spokesperson, Carly Leatherwood. Now, the Division of Student Affairs, Black Student Union, NAACP University Chapter, and Multicultural Student Organization Coalition have also gotten involved in this to discuss the matter. Ohio University is categorically, or this is what they say, Ohio University categorically rejects these types of hateful acts, which are anathema to our shared values of inclusion and trust. We stand in solidarity with those who were directly affected, and incidents like this ultimately impact all of us. No, it doesn't impact all of them. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It impacts the person who's the victim, because they have to deal with these things, and then they have to go around on a whole campus where they're trying to get their education and be at peace and mind their own black business. They're the ones that have to go around on edge, being paranoid, looking over their shoulder, and feeling, quite frankly, uncomfortable. This is what they have to go through. So I'm not trying to hear any of that. That's what I'm not trying to do. Oh, so crazy. So anyway, with that all being said, everyone, please like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, now hope to see you all in the next chat.